Hello everyone, my name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to a new World of Tanks video, and today we are doing once again a more traditional video where I am proposing my personal feedback to update 110. As you probably already heard here and there are rumors that it's coming out next week on the 4th of August. Those rumors are being stated by WhatExpress, and WhatExpress usually is your go-to news website when you can speak Russian or actually have a Google translator active. Now, let's just quickly go through the table of content. We're going to have a look again today. We're going to talk about Equipment 2.0, the vehicle rebalancing, the battle communications, a short little dive into the bond mechanics, Steel Hunter, the Polish Mediums, and Pearl River. Like, those are supposed to be the main changes in update 1.10. Again, when we really get the proper, the proper contents of the update, I will talk about this in more detail, because most of the time there are some hidden stuff, most likely like stuff like the T-77 or the premium tank, Lati, etc. Now, again, the release date, as quoting WhatExpress from yesterday, they did say that it should be August the 4th, at least for EU and Russia, while America and Asia will get the update a tiny little bit earlier, as you can see from the UTC times. Now, yeah, this will be very interesting because the main big features are Equipment 2.0 and the new Polish medium tank line. But let's talk about Equipment 2.0. The good things, at least. First things first, because there will be a lot more and new stuff, it will give diversity, which is a good thing. It could also change the meta, at least for many separate tanks. And it promotes experimenting. But sorry for being a little bit the bad news, or the bringer of bad news. The bad side, in my opinion, is a lot bigger. The issue is the core meta will stay the same with Rammer, Vents and Stabilizer, especially right now with Vents being able to be slot in all of the 4 different categories, giving them an additional 1%. That is a big issue in my opinion, because it makes Vents basically a universal great thing, a universal functioning equipment. It gives for everything in every single slot. Every single tank can use it and gets a small bonus. And this basically means that throughout the board, in general, that every single tank will perform most likely 1% better, because you would be not stupid, but you would be very stupid for not using improved ventilations. Maybe for other tanks where you can actually use a firepower slot, like with the TDs, you would probably go for the faster reload time, but normally for every other tank class, even for heavies, improved ventilations will be very, very good. Sure, for many heavy tanks, you will most likely go for the super heavy or the endurance slot. And here comes the big issue. As far as I know, Wargaming just said TDs will be damage. RTs, not sure if they are damage or not, but heavy tanks will be survivability, and mediums will be speed, and lights will be, well, spotting, concealment. This basically means that, for example, a Batcher or an E3 aren't the same as a Stridswagen or an FV 4005, you know? The same thing goes with heavy tanks. And this is probably why they changed the improved ventilations like this, because a 50B is not going to put the same thing in as a mouse, you know? Actually, on a mouse, you might think you want to use the improved configuration, so you survive a little bit longer or you take less module damage. But at the moment, if there's no change, obviously this is from CT3, like my knowledge is from CT3, it just feels a little bit hurried. And I'm not sure if it was Hideo Kojima which said it, or Miyamoto which said that a delayed game will be eventually good, but a rush game will be forever bad. And I kind of feel like that this improved equipment right now, it just feels a tiny touch too rushed. We had Sandbox, and almost at the blink of an eye, it come to the test server and is now being apparently shipped. And the biggest thing is that Equipment 2.0 will most likely work hand in hand with Crew 2.0. And last thing, yes, we did had in Q&A stream, a question of mine was answered, or some questions of mine were answered. And most importantly, why not remove Wentz and Rammer? The simple answer with a lot of people will probably be annoyed that, well, something will get removed. Again, this is the big point. We had a sandbox where usually a more wacky approach will be used. So why not this? Why not right now? Was there no wacky approach for Equipment 2.0? Why not just try it and see how it goes, how people will like it or not? I heard a lot of people, maybe they're just saying it because they're fans of mine, they like the idea of Wentz and Rammer be removed. But in the end, it could have been a wacky idea to use, you know? The next big thing is improved and bounty equipment is suddenly not the same thing. This was something that Wargaming proclaimed that said, yeah, bounty equipment is for the people which don't like those competitive game modes, like ranked, like clan wars, and therefore the people which just want to grind a little bit here and there, maybe not even frontline, not even the Steel Hunter mode. And now suddenly it's going to be different. Obviously, it's only 1%. But then again, why do you introduce a type of equipment to suddenly make it different, you know? Make it, again, different, even though your main purpose was to give it to people which wanted to get improved equipment but can't really afford it and just have it from the Battle Pass. Also, I'm sorry for saying it that harsh, but the compensation is absolute garbage, and it's very much garbage. Why exactly just we get 30, or right now the idea is to get 30 demounting kits? Honestly, I have like, I don't know, 300 tanks in my garage, 200 tanks in my garage, and a lot of those may or may not have to be completely revamped. Like, why not do it like World of Warships? Like, you are the same company. I know you're two different teams which are working on those things, but communicate. Usually when there is a big change in crews, in equipment, you usually have like a period of 1 or 2 weeks where it's completely free to demount stuff. Why not do the same thing? Maybe say instead you just get a compensation of like 15 of those for later dates, but at the first week after the launch of the game, you will be able to demount anything for free. That is like something I do not understand. Maybe say we are going to, or, you know, in the end you could say we are just going to remove anything. It might be annoying for other people because most tanks will still stay the same, again, as mentioned in the first statement. Yeah. The improved interface, sorry for again saying it is harsh, but it just feels to me like it is made for blind people. Like, no offense towards blind people or people which have difficulty seeing stuff, but like, I know that the current system which we had right here with those little icons and this little list isn't the best. But honestly, why is it so big? It just feels so big and it's not really needed that big. I think it does feel like it is slightly less big as before, but it just makes it feel like, I don't know, but it might be just because I'm recording, but it doesn't feel smooth. You can see that there is slight lag in it. And again, I am using an RTX 2070 Super and an AMD 3900X processor. So I should definitely not have any issues. And you can see that I have barely any load on anything, you know? And it just feels laggy as hell. The only other thing you could say, yeah, you don't have it on an SSD, but on a very good HD drive. But then again, I am most likely have a little bit of a better setup than most other players. So it just feels not good, you know? It just feels a little bit, it's just not good. Again, the fact that, for example, the bounty stabilizer only gives 25%, while the normal stabilizer gives 27.5%, is just like, I personally do not get why they had to make this distinction. And the other thing is, why is this so big? I like that they added the shell velocity, because for a lot of people it might not really matter, but it's good that it's there. But why? Because now you have a second screen just for ammunition, and then you have this. Why does it need to be in 2 separate slots? Like this I don't get it. Like, this is literally, I can't read it. Like, wow, the same thing with this. Like, it looks a little bit better with those because there are a lot of stuff writing to it, but I don't know. Again, it just doesn't feel smooth. You can see you close it. Maybe it's just because it's a test server still, but the old system I just liked so much more, because when you clicked on service, you had the rounds and the equipment consumables in one spot. That's it, and it worked out fine. And in general, when you wanted to remove an equipment, it just felt a lot better in my personal opinion. I simply don't really know what happened here. Like, for example, when I want to remove the this one right here, the vertical stabilizer, and for example, I want to get this, first I have to demount it, then I have to buy it, and now it suddenly roughly works. It's like not that bad, but I don't know. I'm really not sold on this system, to be honest. I just like the old system a tiny touch more. It felt fluid and it felt quicker than what we have right now. I do think, though, that the point which I want to make right now was a little bit worse in first iteration, so this was changed, so it's not that bad. But one thing I'm not sure if this is actually something which is now for real or I'm just found out right now. I'd quickly most likely just have to try it out, so we can demount that and demount that and demount that again. Oh yeah, why Bino suddenly you have to demount then? 10 out of 10. Great game, great change. I understand that camouflage net can be annoying for a lot of people, but then again, just make a restriction to not be able to use it on heavy tanks, because heavy tanks do not need camo nets. Binocular telescopes actually can be used, you know, but then again, this is basically, it just feels like Wargaming wants to screw over a little bit free-to-play players. But now it's the question. I want to buy in... Oh, okay, so it does actually work a tiny bit like what I want to do. What I wanted to do is that that you can actually do all the same things in the same time. So it actually is not that bad. All right, as far as I know, I can't mount... Oh, yeah, right, it's the Domata, it's the UDIS. So this actually kind of works. But then again, it's just too big. I guess it's understandable, but then again, look how big those are, and yet you still can't write anything or everything what they modified. Like, this is the thing. Why does it need to be so big when if you hover over it, you get another big screen explaining it? I'm sorry that I'm so pointing this out, but it's just so freaking frustrating to use, you know? And then again, if you hover over it, there's not even all the tanks listed which you are using it on. Yeah, let's just quickly move on back here. Oh yeah, no quick way to look at the models of the tank. On the current system, you can just go click, 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 and see your modules. Now let's go back and you can see, nope, there are no more modules. So now you have to go into research, click on characteristics to see the characteristics, and go out again. And for example, if I want to compare the gun of the Nudes with the one of the Stritzwagen, I have to do the same freaking thing again. And like, why is this so big? Why are those pictures so big? They are the exact same picture. They are not even highly detailed. They don't give me as a player or as a customer another big information about this. It just takes up a lot of space. But for example, if you as a YouTuber or as a general person just want to do a comparison of stuff, you now have to, instead of just clicking, oh yeah, this and be finished, you now have to go again, go in here, then you have to don't press escape because that closes this window. So you have to go over here, then press this again to actually see that it's the same gun, blah, blah. Like, it just complicates a lot of stuff, which doesn't need it to be complicated. And again, this big picture is worthless, in my opinion, because in the end, you could have just shown me other more important stuff like the Gunsoft stats. That would have been a lot better than just showing a big ass picture, or shown or made this instead of AP, and HE and show me the speeds, you know, instead of this big picture. It's just kind of wasted space. And I kind of have a feeling that people will have smaller screens that will have big issues. Maybe this was for fake 4K, I don't know. In general, oops, that was a mistake by me. In general, net and bind is not free to demount anymore is definitely a nerf to free-to-play players. But in general, it's a nerf to everybody. I understand that, again, using camo net on heavies because it's free to demount for new players and stuff is annoying in general for other players of your team. But then again, then just say that, for example, the nets, the camo nets cannot be used on, for example, a heavy tank, you know? Very simple. Because I don't really know any heavy tank where a camo net will be better than other stuff, you know. The binders, on the other hand, are just such a versatile tool, which are very important for turretless TDs in the tier 6 to tier 8 range, really. And now you suddenly have to pump out another 600,000 each for a lot of tanks. But again, here the picture which I wanted to show before, that, for example, the Bounty GLD only gives 12.5%, while the new gives 13.5%. Yes, it is just 1%, but yes, it is still 1%. So I just don't get that, to be honest. Now, the weekly rebalancing, the good. It's a good thing that finally things getting changed, and I do think that the nerfs and buffs can make a difference in making those tanks a little bit better. That's why I'm going to go into those tanks a little bit individually. The whole E100 line change, I do think they will make the tanks tougher. They won't make the tanks overpowered, which is a very important thing, but I do think it most likely will be important that it may or may not be a little bit some things which might be overlooked, you know. Maybe the Tiger 1 and the Tiger 2 will become much too strong, while the E100 is just good right now. You know, it's not bad anymore or absolute heat spamming garbage, you know. It is a good tank. I do feel like the changes to the turret front make a big difference, and it makes you think what you want to do, because you can't just side scrape with your turret side properly. You have to actually use your turret face, which I explained in another video of mine. I do kind of feel like that the Tiger 2 and the E75 and maybe even the Tiger 1 will become a little bit too overpowered, so maybe we'll see nerfs right there. By the way, those changes do not affect the Tiger 2, the King Tiger from Twitch Prime, because it's a separate tank, plus it's on tier 7. I heard some people say, oh, I hope those changes will also affect the Tiger, the King Tiger. I'm like, what the hell? The King Tiger is very strong nevertheless. The IS4 line, the changes in general are not that bad, but it just feels like over the whole board again, they remove weak spots. There's no more weak spots on the roof, and honestly, like the IS4, the biggest issue is that the IS4 kind of has super garbage gun handling, which is getting changed, which is a great thing. And it does get a slight armor front buff, which is great, but then again, you want to side scrape with this tank, so suddenly your sides are still the same weakish, like those flanks right here, those right here. So it doesn't really make that big of a difference. And the one other thing is the turret will become so strong that it actually rivals the 279. And I feel like that some people might even take the IS4 as being a separate or like a free-to-play 279 version, or like the poor man's 279. Because literally the only real weak spot the IS4 has when it is hulled down, which is, for example, where mainly the 279 is also playing in, is this little cupola. This is no cupola. The turret roof is removed. It's just this little cupola. As far as I know, you might be able to hit down here, but I feel like it's a lot harder than it is on, for example, the Super Conqueror, because it's a much smaller space. But yeah, this is the cupola. This right here. It's 140mm thick, so hooray, that is a weak spot? Question mark. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm not really that happy about the change in general, but I heard a lot of people saying that the roof of the IS4 is such a huge mistake, and I don't know. I kind of got to 2 marks without any big issues of knowing this. And another thing is, why not give it more ammunition? That was like one of the biggest mistakes. Now you suddenly have a better DPM with a little bit more inaccurate gun, but more gun soft stats. So it's better in snapshotting and all, but you don't give it more rounds. Like I had so many games where just the rounds run dry because the DPM is not absolute garbage, and now it's actually very decent and no rounds. That's so ugh. It just feels like for the E100, it feels like there was done a lot of research, or a decent chunk of research, but the IS4 is just a little bit. And the same goes for the E5. It's good that the E5 gets buffs, but in my opinion, it misses the target. Yes, it is good that it gets some soft stats buff. It is good that the tier 8 gets better penetration. That is great. It's good that the tier 9 gets a better turret armor. It's not by a lot, and overmatchable roof is still there, but it's good. But why do we need more DPM? That could have just given the E5 a better gun handling and the mobility which is more akin to the Renegade. But nope, Wargaming just plops on the DPM badge and thinks it's done. That just feels bad to me. It was like, and this is another thing which I personally just very, very much not enjoy about Wargaming when it comes to balancing changes. During an American Q&A, they pointed it out. They said, we're relaying it to the balance department, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. We didn't hear anything. Like, just the fact that we don't get any information that it even hit the balancing team is just frustrating. Why not have saying like, in a small section, yes, we tried to give it more mobility, but our internal tests showed that it wasn't that good. Sure, I would still say, but why not let the people try? But then again, at least then we know you tried and gave us a little bit of information. But now, right now, it just feels like, oh yeah, this is like Wargaming. Ideas come in from the community, ideas go out from the community without anything in here. It's just a tunnel without anything in it. And it's just so annoying. Like, honestly, it's very, 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 very annoying that we just feel like getting ignored all over the place. So yeah, I'm not happy with the E5 changes. It's great that it gets buffed, but again, it misses the target. The Renegade is a tank which a lot of people enjoy. Why not make the E5 like this? Because it would also make the E5 find a little bit more different from the Super Conqueror, because right now, it's a tiny touch faster Super Conqueror with a huge cupola which can get penetrated with gold rounds very easily, while the Super Conqueror in a hull down cannot get penetrated if you don't have heat rounds properly. Now, the nerfs of the Progetto line. I understand them. I still consider the Progetto to be a very strong tank because it has DPM as well as a clip potential. That makes this tank very, very versatile, a lot versatile. You probably saw it in ranked battles as well. So I personally would have just changed the interclip time rather than the rammer. Like, so you have something like with the double barrel gun line of the IS-32, the IS-22, and the ST2. So you get a little bit more punish for actually trying to clip. So for example, maybe the Progetto changed from 2.5 seconds to 3 seconds, the Standard B from 3 seconds to 3.5 or 3.75, and leave the rammer as is, so you don't really change the rammer. That would, and keep the other things like the gun handling nerf as is, like they did, but not the rammer, but just the interclip time. Because that is, I think, what annoys the most amount of people. Because you can just get clipped by a tank which in general is very fast, very bouncy, and still has the ability to use DPM for its own good. And another thing is, it buffs the Progetto, man. The Progetto is the most overpowered tier A premium medium tank we already have right now. And, oh yeah, let's give it a free slot, which is insane. It's genuinely insane to think that Wargaming just buffed the premium Progetto. But yeah, just as a little heads up right now, this is my current Progetto setup. Obviously, I didn't pre-market it yet because I don't really see the point in dominating with a premium, with a rather strong premium tank. But yeah, 2181 DPM. And in the current iteration, you get up to 2190 with a free slot. So, this is also something, for example, Ducky said. Like, let's go back into the game and have a quick look at the Progetto. I know this is a long video, but again, this is my personal feedback, and this is why it takes quite some time. Now, let's, for example, first of all, let's just move this to another slot. So we have the exact same loadout as we have before, and you can see same DPM. But with the new improved ventilation, which you again can put into the first slot, it gets a DPM buff. But now, why take a vertical stabilizer? You might say, oh, it's already great accuracy on the move, it's great handling, la-di-da, that's great. It has 720 burst potential in free shots, which didn't got changed. Oh yeah, why not take more hit points? It might sound weird. Why should I take more? I might just taking the wrong thing, right? No, it gives more hit points. You might say, that is weird. Why would you take more hit points? Well, it's very easy, my friend. It's very, very easy when I just can find there. Because now you suddenly have 120 20 more hit points. This means in a more competitive environment, aka in skirmishes, you are going to be a happy little fella, because before you can get clipped by 2 Progettos on average, because you have 1,400 hit points, they too have 720 clip potential, aka together it's 1,440, and now suddenly they cannot clip you together. It's a small change. An EBR can already level the playing field, but it's a change which makes the Progetto even stronger in skirmishes. Yeah. Heck, you could even think about giving it a turbocharger, making it even faster and put it into the mobility slot. Hey, why not give it this spotting thing to make it an even greater spotter, because its base view range is already great, 464 meters. You know, it suddenly makes an OP tank even more OP. And that's just... Why not just leave the tier 8s and both tier 8s as is? Why not just leave the premium Progetto as is? It doesn't need a buff, Jesus. But again, this is CT3, maybe they change with the real release of the update. Now the vehicle changes. I know a lot of people hate EBRs, a lot of people wanted to say that I'm a piece of garbage, I'm a twat for playing EBRs in ranked, that I should be ashamed, that it's so easy to perform with them. La-di-da, obviously that is not the case, you still have to have a decent kind of knowledge, but yes, I do agree that at the moment in the live server it's a little bit too easy for very bad EBR players, for example Malinovka, to just yeet around and get barely any damage. And if they get a tracking shot or a wheel shot, they don't really slow down, because that's the major point. In the current system, one wheel hit doesn't slow you down, while now in the test server, the wheel hit really does slow you down, the first one. And this will make the biggest change, I think, between bad EBRs and good EBRs, because a bad EBR will not think about his escape route, where a good EBR will always plan ahead. He does want to know, where can I run away? How can I utilize the fact that I'm now standing forward instead of backwards? So yeah, I do think the changes on the EBR will make the biggest difference. I still think the HE rounds should be removed and just give it the standard 480 alpha with 53 penetration. I would have rather seen the 500 alpha on the Manticore, but then again, after Wargaming, the Manticore is overperforming when it comes to damage, because just good people are playing it. Yeah. The changes to the wheels is, in my opinion, a little bit of a pity to the Lynx, because the Lynx is just a tank which is very, very good balanced. I think that the Lynx shows how really the wheel tanks should have been. A mix of light spotting vehicles, which have to get up close and personal, but also very decent guns. You know, the Lynx is, in my opinion, the best example on how the real vehicles should have been. But yeah, in general, I do think the changes to the tier 10 vehicle will definitely dampen its, how should we say, its, not OP, yeah, well, its OPness, its strengths, and it will also probably still be used in Clan Wars, but not as frequently as anymore. Still consider you just lose 10 meters of view range, which can be countered by the now more and better improved equipment. Again, I do have a fully improved equipped EBR on my real account, because that's what I was needed for Clan Wars, and that's what I was needed for in general for my thing. So we can just put in the improved equipment back in it, so we can say what the big difference is, because again, we get a lot more view range suddenly. So yeah, this was my basic loadout in the EBR, and you know, fun fact, I actually have a fast reload. I have 9.5 seconds on the live server, now it's 9.4. Yikes, Wargaming, yikes. I do lose 7 meters of view range though. I do have 460 meters view range on the live server, so yeah. You might also think that in the end, you know, it can be countered if you say that my EBR or your EBR shouldn't be focused on doing damage. You just say, I'm going to remove that one and use the Commander Vision system, which gives me camo breaking, and put it into the first slot, because the other twos don't mind, and now suddenly have an amazing spotter. You know, those 7 meters are suddenly nowhere. So yes, it is on paper, it is a nerf, especially the hit to the wheels. But spotting wise, the equipment 2.0 will make the EBR most likely still extremely relevant in competitive gaming, in ranked even. I do think, however, that in ranked, spotting is not the main priority of the EBR. It's most of the time just doing damage, because you want to have an impact into the game. So yeah, good on paper, maybe not so good in real life. Same goes for the 430U. The gun handling nerf is tough. It's actually frustrating to use it. I played some games and I have to say I'm not really that happy. But then again, the armor nerf is just bad. It's still a medium tank with 270mm of effective armor on the cupola. And E100 has 200. It's a super heavy tank which doesn't speed around at 50 kph. So yeah, I still say make one cupola at least, at minimum, or at maximum, 200mm thick. Just one, you know? So that you, as a 430U player, have to think a little bit. Sure, now it will be easier to penetrate the 430U, because now you can actually penetrate it with the heat rounds. But maybe just say that this cupola, because it's bigger, has less armor. I don't know, just 200mm of effective. So people now have to try and side strip from the left-hand side. I don't know. It's just mind-boggling to me that the 430U turret armor nerf, or the cupola nerf, it's still worse than what the E100 has. A super heavy tank, which drives at maximum 30. Yeah. But yeah. I smell Russian bias. There are other changes in Rebalancing. They are in lower tiers because they removed the tank gun rammer. And I just have to say, when I see tanks like the T28E with F30, when I see tanks like the SU-76I, I am just not sure those tanks are considered strong, especially the SU-76I are considered extremely strong. A lot of people paid like 20,000 gold for it during the black market. Yeah, making stronger lower tier tanks even stronger after you try to make lower tiers more accessible for new players. Sure, those tanks are more or less rare, and I don't think a lot of people are playing it, but then again, I don't know, I'm not playing lower tiers. It's just a big fat meh to me. It's a mechanic change, not a change to the tanks. Battle communication, it's good in theory. I do think the ping system from Frontline would have been a little bit better. I don't know. It is nice though that now everybody can give an exact ping which is represented with a 3D icon. It will take some time to get used to it, but I'm looking forward to mods removing that annoying beep 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 sound when somebody is pinging it. But that's what I saw. They did, as far as I know, change in the last iteration where you can change the sound. But apparently it is just cut to one of those things, which is bad, because why not give it a separate slider? Too much work? I don't know. Again, it kind of feels some things a little bit rushed. The bond mechanics changes, I don't want to get too deep into it, because I want to make a video about it myself, because it does affect a lot of people which are playing more the game than usual. And in general, it's a decent idea to make it more streamlined to get the bonds, but it's a very bad implementation. Because right now, people which do not play tier 10 tanks have no way of gathering bonds. Except from Steel Hunter and Frontline. Because it was nice when you get an achievement and you got some more bonds, especially when you have an amazing game. And it was not nothing. I like that now it is more logical when you're getting the bonds, but when you are doing sessions on a tank, when you free market tank, 2 hours and you're done. For at least a decent player. So yeah, but again, it's a topic for a whole other video where I want to bash it a little bit more. The Polish mediums, it's hard to say. It's an interesting tier 10. It's an interesting idea. The branch in general doesn't look OP. It looks interesting. It's just your average medium tanks, you know. You have a tier 8 which has a little bit more alpha. You have a tier 7 with a little bit more alpha. You have even a tier 6 with a lot of alpha. But again, you can't test them properly on a test server because there are lakhs of restrictions on tier 10, because obviously test server is not the same as live server. So I hope that if anything is overpowered or underpowered, that the response from Wargaming will be quick. Pearl River, I did play 5 hours on the test server and didn't had it once. That's a meh. Anyway, live servers will be more easier to judge the things, because it's a live environment and people play as they would really. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the map. And the map changes, like with Ruinberg, as far as I know, I think there were some changes on Berlin. It's hard to judge. we will see how they go out on live. And I hope that if there will be changes, there will be issues, that Wargaming is going to change them quickly. So yeah, that is my personal feedback to the whole update. I know it was a long video, but there was a lot of things to talk about. It is the biggest update to date in my personal opinion. But the more I'm looking into it, I just feel like that was my WhatsApp. I just feel like that a lot of things feel rushed. Again, the battle communication, why not have a separate slider? And I actually can see that I have maybe a little bit of a sunburn. It might just be the light. And the changes to the tanks, E5, completely not what community wanted. The IS-4, why do we need another unpenetrable hull down heavy tank, basically? Where are nerfs to... Where are the real nerfs? You know, where are the nerfs for the 30U? Because the gun handling nerf is annoying. It's actually frustrating. It's a little bit too much, maybe even. So why the hell do you not just nerf the cupola, which is the main purpose or the main point a lot of people hate the tank? I don't know. Do you have any feedback to me? Let me know in the comment section below. This was a long video, it took a lot of time out of me, and this is why it took so long to do. But yeah, I think that it's my duty as a community contributor to give proper feedback to the update. I will most likely also do this video in a more shortened version in the German videos, because obviously a lot of people are talking English, and they have to English. English is the national language, la-di-da. Not the national language of Russia and stuff. But you know what I mean. That a lot of people still speak English, and heck, you could even see it with most of the developers which did the Q&A. They can speak pretty good English, which is a double thumbs up, really. Nevertheless, a lot of good things, but it leaves a lot to be desired. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget, if you want to have more such videos, to subscribe if you haven't already. My name is RagingRaptor. Cheers, good luck on the battlefield, and I'll see you in another game. Cheers.